let's talk about innovation, Narayan.
Okay.
We spoke about one innovation earlier. Not so happy memories of that.
No, I have wonderful memories, but yes.
So, quite often, from both sides, some of the startups say that, okay, some of the traditional companies already have some spaces defined for them, and
Right.
hence we need to go and disrupt it.
Right.
And they are not sure how the big companies would respond, and therefore what should be their moat so that the big companies take time to respond. On the other side, the big companies are continuously looking around to see who is disrupting them next and how should they be responding. And that's a battle that we see playing out now very, very well, especially because digital has now created democratic access to consumers.
Right.
Now, if I were to ask you, in your current category, there are a number of incumbents now who are coming from, at least from the EV space. Seems to be buzzing with activity.
That's right.
Now, as a big brand, how should one look at competitors like those? And therefore, how should one prepare their own marketing teams and the organization to respond to such competition?
Yeah. So, talking about the two-wheelers and so the electric disruption is a very, very big disruption. So I just want to, so that everybody has an understanding. It's not just a fuel disruption. Fuel disruptions have happened. Like you've had, say, CNG as a thing in four-wheelers, right?
Yeah.
You have cleaner fuel options, etc. But I think an electric vehicle is fundamentally quite different. I mean, the number of mechanical parts are lesser. It calls for a disruption in the way the product is manufactured, requires lesser number of parts, therefore slightly different kind of complexity. Service, it has implications across the chain. So that's why it's a true disruption. I'm just sort of clarifying that.
Sure.
So in that sense, it is a real disruption, right? It is an alternative to the internal combustion engine. It is not an adjacency of the internal combustion engine.
Right.
We are in a very early part of the S-curve, of both in terms of the technology evolving, costs, and the automobile industry goes through this cycle where there'll be a new technology that will come, there'll be a certain cost profile, but over a period of time, things will
even out.
Yeah, will even out, etc. So it's a cyclical. It's like a cycle. Okay.
Sure.
So against this backdrop, you have to go back and ask, saying, there'll be different kinds of customers. There'll be customers who are early adopters. Okay. There will be customers who will adopt after a period of time, after a wait and watch, and the choices these people make will likely be very different. If I'm an early adopter, right, I am likely to be a lot more open to newer brands that I don't know much about, right? I'll be an information seeker. I'll be technologically savvy. One of the things that we often say is that it happens with what doctors say, right? Aajkal patient aate hain, they know more about the disease because Google mein unhone padh liya hai.
Correct.
The same thing happens a lot of times in automobiles. When the person comes into our dealership, he's already done his search, everything. He's got something in mind.
Yeah.
Wow.
It may be as simple as I talk to somebody who owns this bike and they've told me good things about it, so I'm now coming to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So these are those people who've come, who are in that mindset. So they'll be open to newer and newer things. But I think there'll be a mass adoption phase where it will fall into the codes of what people look forward to in the kinds of brands that they would want to buy, which are, what would you want in an automobile? You'd want that you can be sort of sure about how it's made. Reliability will be a factor.
Yeah.
Right.
After sales service will be a key factor.
Yeah.
Repurchase will be an interesting. Resale will be an important variable for you. When you put all of these together, these are all strengths that an incumbent player will have.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
That evening out, that digital evening out, can even out one part of the purchase journey.
Yes.
It cannot even out all aspects of the brand journey.
Correct.
Right.
Wow.
And I think that is the dynamic which will. So there are strengths that incumbent players have, right, which are further on in the brand journey, and there are some which are getting disrupted, which are very much in the in one part of that journey. So a lot of innovation is happening on the product front, which will appeal to a certain set of people.
Sure.
Right. But there's another set of people who will say ki, but what do I know about this brand? Right. I want a no-fuss brand, for example. I want it to be. I want to feel the fact that a big company is giving me this assurance that they'll take care of whatever comes up. And a lot of people are technology, what I would say, fearing. And when I say fearing, they don't. Isn't there like, "Arey yaar, is pe risk nahi lete." See, there's a difference between buying something which you use occasionally, and buying something if that is your tool of trade.
Yes.
Right. If what I put in, if what puts food in my mouth and my family's mouth, I don't know how much risk people will take on that.
Correct.
So again, you got to understand the context in which the category operates.
Sure.
The brand operates.
And Narayan, so one, you said that it is about, how many people are willing to trust and therefore willing to risk. Second part, I think you also said about the fact that the customer journey in your category is longer.
Yes.
Not just about buying it, you have to service it over a longish period of time, and that's where some of the incumbents will have slightly longer advantage.
They should.
And therefore, for all the people who are listening to us from, for example, traditional companies or incumbents as we call them, the advice to them possibly will be that look at your customer journey in totality and understand where is the disruption happening as of now, and also evaluate whether you need to therefore strengthen the other pieces.
Or leverage them. So I think one of the pieces of advice I would have, if you're listening and you're part of, हमारे ज़माने में brick and mortar बोलते थे ना, और आज भी बोलते हैं क्या?
No, अभी because of this new term called omni-channel, brick and mortar
has come back. But if you remember, in maybe 10 years ago, it was कि यार brick and mortar business is very old fashioned. Because don't worry. Okay, don't get disheartened. You're not going to get disrupted just because somebody's doing something in the digital domain. Okay, I think there is a lot of virtue and there is a lot of value that comes out of being a fairly large size player. I mean, if you're forget about 800-pound gorilla, even if you're a 400-pound gorilla, boss, it's going to matter. In the jungle, right? So start from that belief. You may find that there are things on your journey which you can leverage, very decisively. That will matter to the customer. It may not be something that you would have focused on right now, but that's up to you to discover
your latent strengths.
Yes.
Sure. Okay.
So all is not lost just because somebody comes in. And look, that's business. There'll always be people who will have one, challenger spirit, who will come to, take some business from you.
Yeah.
And that's the competitiveness that exists.
This goes back to the first point we started with, saying disruption is the way of life for a marketer.
Disruption is a more fancy word for change.
Yeah.
Right. So somebody, I mean, for example, for a long time, there used to be, if you look back in time, there used to be a set of brands in the Indian market and it says, oh, the MNCs are coming. That was disruption. If you were Campa Cola,
correct,
right, and you saw Coke coming in, right, you may not have called disruptor, you would have said, "Arey, challenger aa gaya na." Right. So it's another competitor.
Exactly.
Right. And so you need to deal with it.
So
fair.
Talking of disruption.
Yes, sir.
In keeping with the spirit of the season, IPL rights. I want to dig your media brain a little bit.
Yes.
TV and digital. We see one day in the paper, Star is taking out the big ad saying how much the viewership has grown. And then Jio saying we got 4 times that on digital. So What's happening in that space? What's your take on?
And Jio going further and saying, why watch something on Idiot Box
Yeah.
when you can watch it on smart devices?
Yeah.
Yeah. So IPL's got like 2 different streams now.
Yes.
And what's your take? Is digital going to overtake TV? Is TV going to last? Is there going to be the brick and mortar situation?